And let's move now into the Thunder. We're talking a little bit about Thunder, whether it be buyers or sellers. Interesting article from ESPN. They've been updating this consistently. What are the trade targets for the 30 teams? And they talk about at least, Chris Paul being a guy that could be moved, but also they don't list him in the options that they are going to trade or the guys that they could be possibly looking to. Danilo is one of the guys that immediately comes up there. So I want to talk a little bit about the Thunder and what moves they could be made, because right now they're in the playoffs, and Chris Paul's been playing phenomenally. And you look at the contract, though, contract's horrible, but we kept talking throughout the season.
Horrible?
Well,
if he's healthy and playing,
but that's
not a bad deal.
Been the biggest thing is he's not been healthy. And also with that, you were going to have to pay him $48 million when he's 36. So that part of it is pretty rough, because right now he's earning $38 million, then 41, and then 44 as a 36-year-old.
Potentially.
But do you think Chris Paul is going to opt out of a $44 million player option?
It could be potentially rough. It could be good.
Oh.
He's having a healthy year.
Well, that's the thing, is what Woj was talking about was the whole idea of them trading for Chris Paul was that he might play himself into the trade market. Mm-hmm. Right now, you could say he has. Mm-hmm. So I just found it interesting that they didn't list Chris Paul, but they listed Danilo Gallinari, et cetera, et cetera. So let's start off with the big fish, Chris Paul. Do you think Chris Paul will be traded by the Oklahoma City Thunder this year?
No, I don't. I think that he has had a great influence on this team, and the fact that they're 27-19 this season is a shock to a lot of people who want to write them off as this team's just going to gut the entire roster, play kids. Chris Paul's going to be a grumpy old man on that team. He's going to get hurt again and whatever. Like, it's a completely different narrative that I don't think a lot of people expected to see coming. He's been great out there. Him being a true point guard out there next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been massive for Shai's growth. He's been a different player this year. He's been taking over games, taking over the scoring load, not worried about moving the ball as much. He's been counted on as a scorer. It's interesting. It's a different look. And I think the balance of the team's been really nice as well. While they do have these young pieces, they've got guys they can count on when time comes. Chris Paul, fourth quarter, has been excellent. Danilo Gallinari has been shooting as amazingly as has been his entire career. And when he's out there, he's great. And I just think that this team is counting on Chris Paul for a lot. I wouldn't move on from him unless I got a fantastic deal on it. I think that, honestly, like, what is there to be concerned about? Again, is Oklahoma City Thunder going to be pulling in the next big free agent? Like, I'm not your small team, you're a small market team. And I think that they have so many draft picks, so much capital in the future that, yes, trades are, they have potential trades everywhere. Mm-hmm. But Chris Paul's not the guy I'm looking to move first.
The biggest thing that I think is right now what they're trying to at least navigate is the fact that they need to get $2 million off the books, because then they'll be under the tax cap, which right now where this team is, I don't think they want to be paying the tax. So that's why right now they throw in Mike Muscala in there. He's making $2 million. He's a guy that could possibly get traded. Andre Roberson hasn't played for them, but he's a $10 million expiring contract that could get moved. Danilo Gallinari, obviously, if you move $22 million, that's going to get you under the cap. But the Chris Paul thing is, this team seemed to have such of an idea to rebuild, Ricky, and Chris Paul has played well above anybody's expectations. He's been killing it right now. They're 27-19. And they're pretty much solidified in that 7th spot. There's
a gap.
9.5 games back of Los Angeles, and Memphis is 15 in 8th place. They're 15 games back from Los Angeles. They're 5.5 games up from the 8th seed, and then they're a whole 6 games ahead of the Spurs, who are 9th. So it seems like their playoff spot is fairly locked in. If you're the Thunder, you had the plan going into this year that you might want to trade Chris Paul. Although he's played over expectations, are you with Dave that you wouldn't trade Chris Paul?
He's not the one I move right now. I would agree with Dave. The two that I'm thinking about are Danilo, obviously, because teams have inquired about him. The big one have been the 76ers, although I don't know how a deal gets done in that case. Because he has
an expiring deal. You're going to likely lose him as well, so that gives you more motivation to move
I don't know how a deal gets done, because Danilo's at $22 million. And unless the 76ers are going to give up Josh Richardson on top of Mike Scott and Zaire Smith, getting the contract to work out, unless you add in a third team, is going to be tricky.
Trading Danilo in general, it seems like a smart move, because he's going to be expiring.
And then Steven Adams could be the other one they move. They're pseudo sellers to me, where they're going to sell some, but they're not going to sell everything. And the key thing is that playoff thing you mentioned, because if they get to a point where they're like, well, we can trade these guys and still make the playoffs, that could be a win-win because they get assets from the trade, plus they get their young team with Chris Paul experience in the playoffs. And they make the playoffs, and that gets them more revenue with playoff tickets. But those are the only two I see moving, are either Gallinari and Adams. But from everything I'm reading is Adams, they're asking way too much. And because he's got 2 years, not one, teams don't want to take on that $25 million for 2 years.
It's 27 next year.
Be locked down. Yeah, and 27 next year. Be stuck with that basically for 2 years instead of just one and done.
Yeah, I mean, at the center position, you do have a question because I think Nerlens Noel has played his way back to money again this season. He's been doing excellently in the last 3 games. Prior to tonight, it was 10, 6, and 3 blocks, 15 points, 5 boards, a couple assists, couple steals, 2 blocks. Like it's just
going to the line more. He's shooting 80%.
Game over game, you're seeing consistency on Nerlens Noel, which. It's kind of funny because, he was basically told sit there, eat hot dogs on the Mavs because they didn't want him on the team and he didn't want to play there after turning off a big deal, which is just this kid's career is such an enigma and an interesting thing to look at because how it all started with the 76ers in the process and him turning down a long-term deal because he thought he was worth more money than that. His agent was an idiot. And now it looks like he's playing his way back to money again, and I wonder if he's a guy that they could look to trade, or if he's the guy they want to keep around, pay, and move on from Steven Adams.
Yeah, I mean, you could just look even...
It's 50-50.
Last 10 games, 72% from the field. He even has hit a couple threes as well. 77% from the line, which would be a career high. 6 boards where you're losing that on Adams. You're not getting that great of a rebounder, but also he's playing less minutes, so 20, pretty much 20 minutes, grabbing 6 boards. You give him a couple more, he's probably going to get up to where Adams is at 9. And then he's also defensively, giving you 2 blocks and 1.3 steals. He's been a monster there, and that's where he's always been a monster. So that's where I do, that the Nerlens thing, him being expiring, that's going to be the biggest question mark. And that's a great point because, he's going to cost a lot then, at least for teams trying to trade him, because he's a guy that's been impactful and he's super cheap. And that's one thing that we haven't been able to find. Rick, you're talking about teams don't want to take on Adams because it's a high asking price, but then also, he's owed $26 million AAV over the next 2 years. No one wants to take on that much money. It's also hard to match contracts with all these teams that are good, like the 76ers with Danilo Gallinari. Demon Kings brings up a great point. You'd likely have to trade Horford, which I don't think is in the cards for them. Also, why would the Thunder want Al Horford, if you want to get rid of Steven Adams? It doesn't make any sense.
I actually have an Adams deal that I came up with.
Let's hold off. Let's talk a little bit more. We'll get to deals a little bit later. But at least with that, it is interesting how many routes they can go. The Chris Paul answer, though. I didn't get a Chris Paul answer from you.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't.
You wouldn't trade him?
Yeah, I said I wouldn't like what Dave said.
This season, I would keep him on the Thunder. I like what he's doing. I like his leadership. And he's been a professional about this, which I wasn't sure was going to happen because of the drama we saw happen with James Harden last season. I was 50-50. I was like, is this guy going to come in and ruin the environment and pout his way to another trade to another team? Or is he going to, be a professional, come in, play basketball, be a good mentor for these young kids? Because, I mean, the rosters, outside of, the couple of names we dropped, is a bunch of kids out of college. It's so young. And I think that he's been a great role model and a great mentor for a lot of them. So I'm happy with him. I'm happy with him at his cost. You don't have any other options. So what am I worried about? But next season, off season this year, sure, we can absolutely talk. But no, you got 2 weeks. I would keep him for the rest of the season. He's secured them a playoff berth almost. Let's do it up.
I just think with everything that's out there, with the way he's played, yes, they are currently in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's what, a 5-game, 6-game over the 8th seed. How many games was that? I can't remember.
Yeah, they got a 6-game cushion over the 9th seed. Okay. So I just think that
not the craziest thing to happen from trade deadline on.
I just think that it's not too important for them to make the playoffs because again they made all those moves to get rid of Paul George. They got rid of Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's that important for them to make the playoffs. I don't think it would hurt them, but I think the whole idea is let's make sure that we capitalize and kill this future. And right now, his price is never going to be higher. What you're going to get for him because he's so cheap at 38 compared to 41 or 44. And then also he's playing well, which is going to drive up he's playing the best he's ever played, so it's going to draw up interest from teams.
Not the best ever, but the best
he's played in a while, and he's also been healthy.
That's the most important.
And that's the thing that I think is going to really intrigue teams. And it seems like it's fairly wide open. I think like a team could absolutely look at Chris Paul and be like, this could put us over the edge.
One team could go after him.
It's absolutely. I know. I know.
It's the Miami Heat.
Bingo.
They 100%. If they struggle in the next week. They just lost to the Clippers tonight. It was a close game. And here's the crazy thing about the Heat. They still don't have Justice Winslow back. He's been struggling with injuries for the majority of this season, unfortunately. And I fucking love Justice Winslow as a player. But, like, if they get to that point where they're like, look, we can make a move. And I know they've got so many young, talented players. They've got a couple older guys, Kelly Olynyk, James Johnson on larger contracts. They have the flexibility to go after Chris Paul, pair him with Jimmy Butler. It's an insane backcourt. Absolutely insane. But will they have to pull the trigger on it, or will they roll it slow, let Justice Winslow recover, come back healthy, and see how this incredibly deep team can go in the playoffs and not worry about it this year?
I'm pulling a Ricky Widmer. I got to trade.
You got to trade.
You got to trade, Ricky? Do you have a trade?
For Chris Paul?
Yeah.
No.
To the Heat? Okay, I got to trade.
I got Danilo and Steven Adams, one for each.
Okay, well,
Chris Paul I'll work on.
I got a Chris Paul trade, and they're about to be stupid loaded with picks, like just stupidly loaded with picks. Like I'm not even joking.
I mean,
here.
that's the thing. The Heat don't have any.
That's not true. They have OKC's first round pick. They have this year. They have the Heat's 2021. The Heat also have their 2022. They have their 2024 from OKC. And they have their 2020. Oh no, wait. So I'm sorry. It changed because I clicked it to send it to the OKC.
Yeah.
They have their first round 2020, 2021, 2022, 2024, 2025, and 2026.
So they only missed out on
2023.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of
The Heat pick. I think it was the Suns pick.
Oh, okay.
I don't know because the whole thing was the 2021 Heat pick, right?
Right.
Remember that whole
that was a drama.
Yeah, so I don't
turns
know
out it's worthless almost.
where that came out from, but yeah, the Heat still have it according to TradeNBA.com.
Okay.
I don't know what you think about this, but Goran Dragic, James Johnson, Dion Waiters for the 2022 and the 2025. Or no, the 20.
Wait. Where's Chris Paul?
Sorry, Chris Paul's going to the Heat. So Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Chris Paul for Goran Dragic, James Johnson, Dion Waiters, and then the 2024 and the 2026.
I mean, if I'm a Thunder fan, I would be okay with that, I guess.
If you're a Heat fan, what do you not like?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, by 2024, 2026, you, as a Thunder fan, you're like, well, that team's going to be shit. And as a Heat fan, you're like, we got the guy to pair, and we didn't have to go up that much. Like, Dion Waiters, never going to play basketball. That's fine.
He's playing.
Never going to play basketball.
He just hit a 3 today.
I don't care.
He had 2 clutch blocks, apparently, to the headline. I hit a big 3.
The kid...
Dion Waiters led the news for the Heat today in their Vice uniforms.
I'm sorry. He got high... Like the whole... He's not a professional. He's a child. He has the maturity level of like a 15-year-old. He's never going to grow up. He thinks he's better than he is. Like, I'm sorry. I can't take him seriously. Sure, whatever. He's already had one run.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Goran Dragic, yeah, he's great. He's a good bench point guard. He deserves to be a starter again. I have no problem with that. But it's the picks. I mean, what was the third piece? It was Waiter,
James Johnson.
And
so they're not giving up anything besides the pick.
I feel like they're going to have to throw in like either Kendrick, Nunn. I think Nunn moves the needle. I think that's where it gets done.
If you're the Thunder, though, why are you saying no? You're getting picks. Like, isn't that what you wanted? Right now, you have 24 picks.
It's the balance, man. Like, it's the balance. I need to have guys who can keep the ship floating, who are good people to have on the team, not cancers to the locker room, aka not Dion Waiters. And then I need guys, and I need those future picks. That's why I think Kendrick Nunn. I know he's played very well his rookie year in the NBA. And I think that's what they would ask for. I think Goran Dragic is the contract's free. Look, this money's no longer over our heads. But I think Nunn is the guy who has to move the needle.
If they acquired just those 2 picks,
Yep.
they would have Denver's 2020. Well, these are all first rounders. They'd have Denver's 2021. They would have their own 2021. They would have their 2021 of Miami's via Miami or Houston swap with Oklahoma. It's
It's a ridiculous
shit ton of
long one,
garbage.
I know.
But yeah, they would have
Give me a count on first rounders for the
One,
next couple of years.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then if you add 2 from that, they'd have 17 first-round picks from up to 2026. So in the next
crazy.
6 years, or 7 drafts, in the next 7 drafts, they would have 17 first-round picks.
That's insane.
Why would you say no? What is Chris Paul adding to the long-term health of this team? I would absolutely trade him. He's helping Shea right now, but also Shea's a good basketball player at this point.
Yeah.
Shea's not going to become bad at some point.
No.
So I think trade Chris Paul at his highest value. Get picks?
Do you think next year becomes the year then?
If he doesn't get hurt throughout the end of the season, this offseason,
You're playing
everybody's got
roulette, though.
I know. That I will agree to that, but everybody will be able to move things during the offseason. Money becomes more flexible, contracts are over. That's my play.
The question I'm seeing, and this is a team that I'm seeing a couple articles being written more recently about, should the Bucks make a run at Chris Paul?
Thank you, because I was actually going to, because I thought you were going to go to the Danilo trades.
No, I worked out a Buck deal.
Okay, well, cool. That's good, because I want to give a shout out to the Twitch chat. Diamond pretty much said that. Bucks should trade for Paul, and he said it gives him Giannis another guy to rely on to handle the ball. And then Demon King also said Bledsoe is fine for the regular season, but he's a career choke artist in the playoffs. If Terry Rozier becomes your dad, you're a bum. So I'm glad you came up with the Buck deal. Also, Kingy said CP3 for Conley. Jazz should push for this, but let's focus in on the Bucks.
The deal would have to be Bledsoe, George Hill, and Ersan to make the contract work. And then I don't know why Trade NBA does this. It should work out because the first round pick that Milwaukee has this year is Indy's pick. They should be able to trade the 2020 and 2021 picks because one is the Buck pick and one is the Pacer pick. But even if, let's say, they have to swap a pick because of that Stephian rule, basically
so you're saying
two firsts, and then Bledsoe, who's locked down for 4 years, George, who's got 3, and then Ersan, who's got 2 years.
No
Is there any
No
other
deal.
contract they can move than George Hill? Because George Hill is literally their second best player this year.
Yeah,
He shoots like a
Or
flamethrower.
third best player.
So
after
George
Middleton and
Hill's
Giannis.
at $9.1 million.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to go up and trade Brook Lopez, which they're not going to do, and then the next lowest one after Ersan is Rolo at 4.7. So it's like with contracts,
I wouldn't do it. George Hill and Ersan Ilyasova are great shooters. And I know great shooters during the regular season can't be counted on during the playoffs. It's a different game. Teams scheme. Teams play differently. The defense is different. But at the same time, does Chris Paul versus Eric Bledsoe need to move much when you add in those two great shooters into it? I don't think so. I think I would stay pat.
but the thing I will throw out, and yes, I know the answer is probably no to this, but
Yes, I know it's a no.
in a playoff situation, could you say, hey, you know what, although we're not going to give him big minutes in a playoff, we can maybe lean on him in situations in the playoffs where we need shooting? They do have Kyle Korver.
Chris Paul's a serial choke artist in the playoffs. Chris Paul's never won anything. Why are we suddenly saying that he's going to be better? He's been missing because of injury, or he has not been able to get his team over the hump. That's the story arc of Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people are now saying he's going to put them over the top. If this team's going to get put over the top, it's because Giannis goes fucking Super Saiyan. Like, that's what happens. You have outside shooting, and they can knock down shots with Ersan Ilyasova, George Hill, Chris Middleton, Dante DiVincenzo, Kyle Korver. Guys like that are what is going to help them win the title. Not someone... Chris Paul over Eric Bledsoe, yes, he's a better player. But Chris Paul over Eric Bledsoe, Ersan Ilyasova, George Hill, as a contribution as a whole,
Yeah.
that's where I think that I draw the line.
Here's the other deal. If you don't want to include George Hill, you want to keep the bench point guard. Chris Paul and Deontay Burton go to the Bucks for Eric Bledsoe, Ersan, Robin Lopez, DJ Wilson, and Dragan Bender.
Yes. I would be much more favorable to pull that.
To the choke artist playoff Chris Paul. He hasn't been healthy, but when he's played, he's been great. 21 points per game, 2.3 turnovers to 7 assists,
I know.
two steals, 5 boards, 35% from 3, 47 from the field, 88 from the line. So I mean, he's still fucking great.
Can't win the big one.
He can't, but if you have Giannis, it's much easier to win the
do you
big
remember
one.
how many times the Clippers went to the playoffs and then didn't make it past? I know there were good teams they were playing against. I'm just saying, like, I don't want the narrative to change of Chris Paul, because the last thing I remember from Chris Paul in the playoffs is him not being there because James Harden needed help and he wasn't there because he was hurt.
Let me ask you this, though. Obviously, if Chris Paul's healthy in 2017, 2018, they go to the finals.
Yes, 100%. They were the best team in the NBA that year.
So he could have pushed him over the edge.
Yes.
Also, is Giannis the best player he's ever played with? If he gets traded to the Bucks?
No.
I disagree
James
with
Harden
that. I disagree with that.
Was a better player.
I think that Giannis in that system with Chris Paul, that's the best player he's ever played with. Giannis is stupid efficient. You have that 2-man game of Giannis, and you could run a Giannis-Chris Paul pick and roll.
That's a lose-lose.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. How's that a lose-lose?
No, for the other team.
Oh, for the other team. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, whichever way you bite, you lose.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
And then also Chris Paul, at least past 5 years, offensive rating in the playoffs, 119, defensive rating 106. So
how many games played?
I already clicked off, but good. He's played 5 straight years in the playoffs. So
I get
he's
that.
At least able to get
again. It's just he can't win you anything, but he also in this situation wouldn't be the guy to put you over the top. But he's got to be there. He's got to play.
So you're saying
if he's healthy, would they be better? Yeah, but are you going to put your money on that? It's tough.
So you're no to trading Chris Paul.
I'm no Chris Paul during the season. I'm yes Chris Paul off season.
Okay, no to Chris Paul this year.
Correct.
Ricky, no to Chris Paul trading this year. Or has your mind been swayed?
Unless there's an offer I couldn't refuse, then I would lean 90% no.
So you're saying you would, as the Thunder,
3
you would not.
first-round picks.
Okay.
Yes, unless there's an offer I couldn't refuse, anything's possible, but I would lean towards no.
If there's a reason that a Chris Paul trade doesn't go down, it's because of Dave's reasoning of it makes like we're losing too much, as in the Bucks. So I wouldn't trade it if I'm trading for Chris Paul. As the Thunder, I am moving Chris Paul. That's just my take. You have trades.
I just don't think anyone's going to do anything. And the only other...
Yeah, you have Thunder trades, though.
Yeah, but the last Chris Paul one I want to throw out,
there.
because this is an article from SirCharlesInCharge.com, and they throw out a team that's interesting. I don't think it happens, but they throw out the Denver Nuggets as another team, because they mention how Gary Harris and Jamal Murray are split in time, and they feel like the example they say is a prime example of this was found midway through the second quarter the game at home against the Charlotte when Jokic dribbled the ball to the left wing to initiate a handoff to Gary Harris. In the process of completing the dribble handoff, Gary's defender, Miles Bridges, bumped into Jokic, giving Harris an uncontested 3, which he converted. And they're talking about like how Harris and Murray are split in time, where Chris Paul would give him a different option. I just don't think a trade like that works, because you'll have to give up Gary Harris and Mason Plumlee and first to make it go. But we've talked about Nuggets deals in the past, and like David mentioned, you don't want to give up Mason Plumlee, even though he's a 1-year contract.
Does Malik Beasley's contract fit
not
instead?
Enough,
Can you give up
money?
Malik Beasley and Monte Morris?
So if I take out Mason Plumlee, Malik Beasley's only 2.7 mil, so that makes the grand total at 20.5 incoming. 38.5
I got you.
I don't know if I love the Nugget thing, but Chris Paul would make that team better. That's the thing, is like, I don't love that Nugget deal. Give me your Gallinari deal, and let's get to the other Thunder pieces, and then I'll give you a Nugget deal, because I think I can make one work.
The one Steven Adams one that I tried and didn't work, the Boston Celtics, they just don't have the contracts, and you're not going to trade Gordon Hayward for Steven Adams. The one I do have is the Sacramento Kings, because they're a team that's interested in him. Basically, the Kings have 2 pieces that one wants out, one is not coming back. He already said, the player op, not taking it. I'm going to be a free agent. What if the Kings said, we'll give you Dwayne Dedman and Bogdan for Steven Adams, and we'll get a second? Like, I put a second because I didn't know if a first would be too much, But give us Steven Adams and a pick. We'll give you Dedmon and Bogdan.
I almost think that the pick
Thunder
is on the other side.
So the pick is going to the Thunder?
I almost think so. I don't know.
read it off
Value-wise,
again?
So
Dedmon, Bogdan,
and Bogdan for Adams and a pick.
Dedmon Bogdan for
Second,
how does that
first,
help
whatever
either
you want.
team?
Well, because the Kings have interest. It's all because the Kings apparently have interest in Adams, and with
after
the Thunder,
a decade of drafting centers, they
and with the
need a
Thunder,
center.
you still get. You're basically swapping center for center. Dedmon isn't a bad player. He just wants out of Sacramento,
because he hates their coach.
and Bogdan's not a bad player either, and he wants out of Sacramento. So it could help the Thunder, and it could help the Kings.
He could run Bogdan at the two.
Dedmon though, Dedmon's signed long term. Bogdan's done at the end of the year.
Yep.
But if the Thunder think, hey, but we can make Bogdan want to sign with us because of the team we have here and the coach we have here and the culture
It'll
we
be
have here.
interesting. I'm not opposed to it, but I think the
I don't love it.
Kings would have to give up a pick
Yeah,
because of the extra year on Steven Adams' contract.
and the year's Dedmon's.
Yeah.
You're taking
I
on a
still
worse
think-
player.
You're taking on a worse player, but I still think that Dedmon is not a net negative at that cost. He's worth the value. He's there. He's not a great value, but he's worth the value of his contract.
But you're helping out the Kings by doing
yes,
that.
it's a plus for the Kings. I agree.
So
Yeah.
that's why a first should maybe
Has
go
to go
from
back.
the Kings to the Thunder.
Yes.
The other one too is like I didn't know how to fucking make the pick work. But this would be more of we're getting one young player who will he pan out? Probably not. We're also getting a dump of someone who's done at the end of the year, and we're getting somebody who can maybe help the team in a role situation.
Yep.
It's the Mavericks
Yep.
getting Danilo Gallinari on top of the trade they already did, and they would give up Courtney Lee, Boban, and then Isaiah Roby, who they just traded for earlier today in a roster spot move to bring him in. And then whatever pick you want to put it in, because I couldn't figure out whether it should be a second or a first, but Courtney Lee, Boban, and Isaiah Roby for Danilo to the Mavericks, unless it's like, well, that doesn't help the Thunder at all.
Can't move on from Boban.
Well, you got to send them to Philly.
Is that the biggest need for Dallas? I mean, they're already
Apparently,
killing
Dallas
offense.
was trying to get a
sharpshooter like
shooter.
I mean, they're the highest
I know.
team in
They have Steph-
NBA history in offensive rating.
They have Steph. They have Seth Curry.
One's
should-
playing, one's not, so we could just call him Steph.
I mean, he's also
Curry
shooting
30.
really well.
Yeah.
Who I called it this year. I'm just saying. I called that shit.
So
coming
tough
into the year.
to call that a good shooting guard that's been
Well, he's coming
a
off
good
of a
shooting.
major injury,
Okay, but
and he had. Yeah, I'm just saying.
shooting. You don't lose. You don't lose.
It was
the stroke.
it was a
You can
low key
still
great
practice the
signing.
stroke while hurt.
Low key great signing.
It was good.
You have him. You have Hardaway Jr. You have, I guess Danilo's not going to hurt a team. Put it that way. He stretched out their team better. I'm not opposed to it. It's just you picked up Willie Cauley-Stein. Can you move on from Boban? I know he only eats 10 to 15 minutes a night at the very most, but he is effective in those minutes. But he's also situational. He can't be in against certain people. He gets abused. So Danilo, great shooter. Euro for Euro, no problem there.
If you're gonna lose a euro, you got to keep a euro.
I agree.
Ricky,
Yeah.
you got any more?
I'm working on a 76er one. Give me 2 seconds.
The 76ers one, I'm going to
Al
kill.
Horford.
Everything that we've heard from Jake, they need a secondary ball handler, and to make a Danilo trade work, they need to trade Al Horford. So I don't think that's going to be a deal
I'm
that
going to do it
matters.
without Al Horford.
Okay,
You
well,
can't.
I really don't think that's a need that they need on their team. So I think you're just wasting time. Let's wrap this up, and I'm going to wrap it up with the trade to end all trades. And I think this is going to be the best trade that's ever been muttered on the fast break.
Sir, you're not wearing tinfoil. You're not allowed to say that.
This is not only tinfoil, but this is the greatest trade that's ever been said on a podcast. All right, Ricky? So you're not even going to be able to... it's just a waste of your time. Because if you come in, it's just going to be like, oh, that's where we end it, you know? So this is the greatest trade to trade. You brought up the Nuggets, right? Let's play a little bit with that. The Thunder, right? Chris Paul and the Nuggets. A little bit weird, right? Well, let's get a familiar face here. All right? Let's get a little familiar face. Danilo Gallinari used to be a Nugget. Who was he traded for? Quiz time.
Carmelo Anthony?
Carmelo Anthony. Boom. So we're going to send Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari back to the Nuggets, right? You get a stretch four, you get a shooter, you get some space, you get a good point guard. Thunder get Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, Malik Beasley, and 3 firsts.
Wow.
Who says no?
I'm genuinely
Who
impressed,
says
Sean.
no? Who says no? Who says no?
Read it off one more time.
No.
No, I didn't hear it all.
Christopher
I'm saying,
Paul.
like, I'm in
Yes,
awe.
I
Christopher
heard that.
Paul.
I heard it's the other part.
Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah,
So Chris
it's
Paul, Danilo.
The other side, I didn't.
Thunder, Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, Malik Beasley, and 3 first-rounders.
I thought about Millsap, but I didn't know if they'd move on from Millsap.
Michael Porter Jr.
So the
I'm
reason
not
why
a Thunder expert I'm not a Nugget expert like you. I didn't know how much he really contributes compared to that 1 year just being a dog.
He does contribute to this team, absolutely.
But you're getting fucking Chris Paul.
The biggest thing that hurts this deal, the Thunder that will be hurt, is interior defense because he is their best interior defender. So Jokic is, he's a fine defender. I don't think he's a bad defender. I know people think he's a bad defender because he's slow. He puts himself in good spots, but he is not a good interior and post defender. Paul Millsap is their best big defender. Not close. Jeremy Grant's a very good defender who they traded a first-round pick to the Thunder. So that's why I had to put 2022, 2024, and 2026 in.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Paul Millsap is, if you're comparing Gallinari and Millsap, I would put Gallinari at the 4. I would have Chris Paul, Jamal Murray, Will Throw Barton, Danilo Gallinari, and you could put Torrey Craig in at Will Barton's spot and have Will Barton be your 6th man. Gallinari at your 4, and then Jokic at your 5. That would be my starting lineup. But yeah, the biggest part that maybe they don't get rid of Paul Millsap would be the defense. But if you're getting Chris Paul, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
So and you're not losing the offense that Paul Millsap brings, and you're getting a better shooter in Danilo Gallinari. And Gallinari works in that offense with his athletic ability.
Do you think they'd be able to
great off
compete with the Lakers or the Clippers with Chris Paul?
Yes.
I think so.
I'm in awe, Sean.
Or would Chris Paul just choke in the playoffs?
No, I'm actually in awe. That was genius.
Thank you.
As long as they can keep Bobo.
As long as they can keep Bobo. Yeah, well, they'll keep Bobo and they'll keep the greatest player in NBA history. Oh, sorry, we're not allowed to say that. We'll keep the one of the top 5 players to soon be in the NBA.
Where's MPJ in the Rookie of the Year voting?
He's not close. Come on.
Not a rookie.
He is a rookie.
No, not a rookie.
Technically. Nice job.
Not funny.
Missed.
Nice.
Not funny. I get it. He was drafted a year ago.
Sean, he
never
it.
played.
He absolutely killed it.
Thank you.
That was a
Hey, man.
stunning trade.
Diamond
very much.
Rookie of the Year.
Thank you very much. All right, whatever. And I'm gonna kick Ricky out now because
You're on one side of one argument and on the other.
The Al Horford no trade is
no, we
basically...
said we're not gonna do it.
No, I wanted to fucking say it.
The show
In order to make it work without Al Horford, the Sixers would have to give up Josh Richardson,
No.
the Beehive of Mike Scott, Zaire Smith, and then like one of the $1.5 million contracts. I just put Shake Milton in, but like either
G-League
him,
killer.
NATO, Furkan, like any of those.
Furkan, Steph Curry, you can't do that.
One of those like 1.4, 1.6 million. Kyle O'Quinn, Trey Burke.
Ricky. They're not giving
Jonah
up Josh
Bolden,
Richardson
whichever
for
one
a
you
shooting
want.
4
Well,
and Danilo Gallinari.
it's the rumors with everything saying that the Sixers are highly interested in Danilo. If they're
Al
interested,
Horford's the odd man out. As sad
they're
as it is,
interested.
because they just signed him to a long-term deal, and they need someone who can back up Joel Embiid. It doesn't
Demon
matter.
King. Fuck Furkan.
No.
You say what was that?
Demon King. F Furkan.
Oh,
Bum.
All right. Yeah, I don't think Richardson's leaving. And just to wrap it up, some stuff. King E said that wasn't a bad trade. Thank you very much. Demon King also said, "Wow, Sean, I thought that was about to be a joke, but he came out with a really good trade." Thank you, appreciate that. The defense on their team would be atrocious though, because they have Jamal Murray at shooting guard is such a liability. True, but also then like you could just have Chris Paul guard the better guard. Like I think you could figure out, because you're getting a great defensive guard in Chris Paul, and you're getting an upgrade over Gary Harris defensively. And right now they're still one of the best teams defensively. The biggest place that team struggled so far this year is offense. Their defense has been really dynamic. And maybe that is really affected when you trade Paul Millsap, but then you're still going to affect the offense. I think at some point you're going to need to create that when you're going up against the Lakers, because if you have LeBron James on one end, you're going to need to answer at some point. And having Jokic, CP3, Jamal Murray, and Danilo Gallinari, I think that's going to be enough offensive power for them. But yeah, right now they have 109 points per game, and that's one of the worst, at least in the Western Conference. It's third worst in the Western Conference. So I think they do need to, if they were going to add anywhere, I think they would need to add some offensive firepower. But that's going to do it for the Thunder segment. That felt very long. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about the Thunder? Where do you think they should go? You think they're going to be buyers or sellers? It sounds like we're thinking buyers, at least getting rid of Danilo Gallinari and Steven Adams possibly in
You
some
mean
trades.
sellers?
They're
What did I say?
selling.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said
No, you
buyers.
said buyers.
They're going to be sellers because they're getting rid of Danilo Gallinari and Steven Adams. I don't think they're going to be buying. So let us know what you think down in the comments below. But there's also Mike Muscala and Andre Roberson rumors as well, just so they can get on the tax salary. But again, let us know down in the comments below.